All right. We are live. I'm going to be checking mic. Okay, we're good. Welcome to another Ask Me Anything. We haven't done these in a while on YouTube, so I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really juicy one. I'm sure you're going to walk away with actionable strategies, stuff that you can implement right away for your agency to start getting results. And yeah, all you have to do is just go ahead, type out your question, and I will go ahead and do the best job I possibly can to answer it. So I'm going to go ahead and check that we are live. Robin, what is good? All right. So I'm going to let a few people tune in, and then we're going to start. We're going to get right into it. But yeah, I mean, while people tune in, a little update on the channel where I've been. Basically, it got to a point where I realized that I'd built a lot of complexity in my life because I had all these businesses that had boomed, but I hadn't really created a lot of like very robust and systems and processes to deal with the sort of scale that I was seeing. And so I had good processes and systems, but not to deal with the sort of skill that I'd created and the sort of chaos that I'd created. So I had to take a step back, really put together those systems, and really just put together an incredible team. And that's what I've been doing. I've been basically creating an incredible team, an A team. I did have an A team. It's just like what I found is I essentially realized that for different stages of the journey, you're going to need different people. And that's kind of what I've been doing, just building businesses really. And so I am slowly getting back into the content grind. I'm slowly, getting back into it. And I'm really enjoying it. Creating content is one of those things that I personally absolutely love. And so I was really excited to get back into it, but I couldn't do it without putting these systems in place. But Manish, what's up? John, good to have you in here. Hey man, I don't have any clients yet. What is the best way to get to sign my first client? All right, so yeah, we're gonna get right into the questions. Somya, what's good? Love from India, appreciate it. All right, love the intense mastermind. Yes, if you guys haven't watched on my channel, I hosted a live event. I mean, that was kind of like my way of coming back into things. I hosted a live event. Here we go. Got a little bit more light. I hosted a live event on in London, and that was a really cool moment for me because I left London like 2.5, 3 years ago. And back then I was like working from this tiny little dorm on my business. I'd signed like 3 clients or so, moved back to Madrid to my parents' home. And, going back to London for the first time, really, to do an event like this, it's pretty crazy. But let's go right into it. All right. So, tips to ecom agency beginners. Okay, so I know it's a broad question, and you guys, you want to make it a little bit more specific, but the main tip that I can give you is the first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you build a monopoly ecom agency. And what I mean by that is you don't want to be another ecom agency offering Facebook ads or Google ads, whatever it is, to ecom clients. Because if you're going to do that, get in the queue, right? There's like thousands of people just like you trying to do the exact same thing, and doing a very poor job at it, right? And so you want to make sure you build a monopoly agency, and the way you do that is by narrowing down into a specific sub niche. Okay, so once you do that, right, your offer, your process to results, your branding, your marketing, your sales funnel should be personalized to that specific sub niche, your content, right? And that is how you can get an edge very, very quickly, because you become an authority in that space in a short period of time. And your process to results, you become the go-to person in that space, right? And I've had students like Patrick. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the student interview with him. He's become like one of the go-to people in the fitness industry, right? Why? Because he narrowed down into that space, and he had that approach that I talk about. Hi, is Daniel here? I met you in London at your event. I was the black guy in the black t-shirt with Boyan. Dude, it is good to have you here. And yeah, it was a great feeling, like meeting people that were watching my content online. Something about that physical element that I just personally loved. So it's good to have you in here, my man. All right. Okay, so Peter says, hey, I don't have any clients yet. What is the best way to get my first client? The best way to get your first client, I personally believe, is especially when you're just starting out and you don't maybe have much money to yourself, is using a profile funnel approach, right? And so the profile funnel approach is on organic platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, and IG. Okay. The way it works is you have content and your profile do a lot of the authority and social proof building, right? Then you connect with people in a specific sub niche within ecom, and then you start interacting with them through DMs, not with a, hey, let's jump on a call and, trying to marry them before you've gone on a first date, right? With a very clear value-driven offer first, and then you can transition them into a strategy session. But the key, again, starts with having that specific sub niche, and the content should be tailored to that specific sub niche. And this, I did a live training on my Facebook mastermind. If you guys are on YouTube and you haven't joined it, you definitely should get on it because we're doing a lot of live trainings there. But I did one talking about how to create content, just how to have unlimited content. And one of the things that I said, and one of the key things to do in order to create unlimited content, is basically taking proven content already, adding your own creativity and spin to it, right, and making it specific to your sub niche. And that way you get unlimited content from the get-go. A lot of people are scared of posting content because they don't have any original ideas. Well, you just take proven ideas and you personalize it to your sub niche. Passive income is real. So this is a good question. I would say, so I do believe in the idea of passive income. I just don't think it's branded and marketed correctly. And that happens a lot in the online space where, do I believe in I don't know, there's a lot of business models out there that work. They're just not marketed and they're just not marketed and sold to people well. And so, delusions are created, right? And so I do believe in passive income, but in order to get to that point, right, you need to build systems and you need to go through a very non-passive income phase to have that passive income. For example, in my agency, I consider a lot of what we make, I consider passive income because we take a percentage of the ad profit for the clients. And so that grows month on month. As we scale the ad spend, we can make them more money, and that grows month on month. And the complexity for us doesn't really increase too much. So yeah. So John, good to see you here, fellow mentee. Not a business related one really, but how do you manage your energy and concentration level? So a very good one. There's a bunch of key things, and the reason why I want to focus on the key things and the foundations is because so many people look at the advanced stuff, but they don't have the foundations in place. So let's put the foundations. Let's put the foundations in place first, and then we can talk maybe a little bit more about advanced stuff. But really, the foundations for me are a good night's sleep, okay, and then making sure that I have a really solid morning routine plus a solid deep work block in the morning, right? And so the chaos of my day really starts around 9 a.m. All right. And so if I don't manage to get at least 2 hours of deep focus work before 9 a.m. Madrid time, I don't have the most productive day I could have had, right? Because at 9 a.m. I start the huddle with my CTO. I then have a bunch of sales calls. I then have a bunch of client calls. I have a bunch of calls with my team. I then have lives like these, trainings, coaching calls, and all this stuff, right? And so chaos really starts at 9 a.m. for me. Yes, I do have pockets within the day. I do have pockets where I could go into deep workflows. But what I found is once I go into a state of mind where it's more social, where it's more like what I'm doing right now, which is more talking, I find it hard to go back into full deep workflow. So I find that those 2 to 3 hours in the morning are absolutely vital for me. And so that the key for me to have a very, very productive day is making sure that I master and dominate those 3 hours. And the way I do that is by having a really solid morning routine first, right? So I'll wake up. Well, one of the things I'll say is I think people overcomplicate morning routines, and I've pretty much tried everything when it comes to the morning routine. And I think it's important that you find what works for you, right? And not just go for some YouTuber has said online or some stuff like that, right? So what works for me is I wake up early, right? Then I have a cold shower. And then I don't want to sound like the typical, self-development guru, but I have a cold shower. Then I make myself a nice tea. I have my nootropic stack. I have my supplements, right? I don't eat breakfast, and then I do a meditation session. Then I do journaling, and then and then I write down my goals, my principles, etc., and then I get right into it. And I tackle the most intense and the most those type of activities that are going to set me up for the future, right? And that are going to be great for my team, for my businesses, for my family in the future, and not so much like things, fires that I need to deal with right now, right? So those will be like systems building, process buildings, thinking of new ideas, sometimes just thinking, right? And noting down like how I can take things up a level. And so I'll do that for like 2 to 3 hours, depending on how much time I had in the morning. And then I'll get 9 a.m. rolls around. I'll get into the huddles. I'll get into the content. I'll get into the coaching. I'll get into client calls for the agency. I'll get into like calls with manufacturers and all that good stuff. So that's kind of like the first thing that I would say. Like conquering the morning is absolutely vital. And then the second thing for me, absolutely vital, is at 12:30 religiously I will break. And I will, it depends if I have a rest day, but most often than not, I will go to the gym, okay? Or I will do some sort of activity. So I'll do that after the morning. Otherwise, it's just simply that, when I hit the gym, I hit it hard, right? And so what I found is if I do it very early in the morning, which I used to do, I find myself a little bit tired. And I find that I've invested a lot of energy into the gym, but then I don't have as much energy for that deep workflow at the start, right? Those 2 to 3 hours that I just mentioned. And so for me, religiously before lunch, I have that, I move around, like I move, I either go to the gym, I run to the gym, and I do that. And then I have a light lunch that is also vital for my energy. So I'm not going to have like a huge lunch with like, a lot of carbs and all that stuff, because then I'm going to have a big crash in the afternoon. So I'll have a light lunch, fats, proteins, a few nuts, and stuff like that. And then I'll get right into work at around 3 p.m. So, without getting too specific, that's kind of my thing. Like sleep is massive. Then my morning before 9 a.m. is absolutely massive, which means I need to have a really solid morning routine, and I need to have a really solid 2 to 3 hour deep workflow work block. So that is that for that question. Okay, so this is a question that I get a lot, and I want to. It's getting a little bit dark all of a sudden, but I want to address it right now. So how can you get international clients? Really, you just go ahead and you tap into an international market. It's as simple as that. When you're doing e-commerce agency, you're not bounded by geography, right? So like you just tap into an international market, and that's the way you get clients. Like you have a really good fucking offer, right? And then you tap into and you go into an international market, and you brand yourself and market yourself in that language market, like that market's language, right? It's as simple as that, right? I've got people from all over the world tapping into the US, the UK, Europe, markets all over the world. Why? Because we're essentially in the e-commerce space, right? Like you're not bounded by geography. Great question. The problem with Facebook is I cannot see you guys' names, and so I probably recognize this person if you're very active in the community. But anyways, Facebook user asks, do you see yourself moving to places like Dubai, LA, or Miami, or do you prefer staying in Madrid? I don't know why you chose Dubai, LA, or Miami, because like I don't know why that selection. Like I understand Dubai maybe for like the tax purpose, but LA, like it's just a little bit of a shithole right now. Like no offense to the people living out there, but or the people from there, but they can probably admit with me that LA is not the best place right now in terms of like government and policies and security and everything, and it's not a very entrepreneur friendly or business friendly place. And then Miami. So let's address. I'll address this city by city. Dubai, no. Although I think it's a fun place for a vacation, and I was there for around like 2 weeks last year, and I had a lot of fun. I don't see myself living there, and the reason why that is because I think this is very personal, right? It's a very personal thing, but for me, Dubai, it's very shallow energy. That is the energy that I feel from that place, and I think it's very I don't want to say like toxic, but it's very materialistic and it's very shallow energy. So I think it's fun. I just see it as a big amusement park, right? I think it's fun for a few weeks, but I would feel pretty empty going out. Like I don't think I would resonate with the energy in Dubai. I like places that are a little bit richer in energy. So that's Dubai, right? I think it's a really, really fun place. I just don't see it for me living there. So that's really the fault. And then the final thing I'd say on Dubai is, in terms of like setup, I think the fact that like you can't really walk around too much. Like you have to take a car pretty much everywhere. And so I think, if you're not moving around too much and you're just like locked in an apartment, it makes sense. But then why would you be in Dubai? Like, I don't know. I don't really like the cities that are very like decentralized in a way that it's not like a European city like London or Madrid, where you can walk around pretty much everywhere, and this, like, it's rich in culture, and yeah, it's just Dubai for me is like it's very detached, and it's very like I don't really like the so like I don't think there's a great energy to it. So that's the first thing that I would say. And then LA, I mean, I kind of addressed it. It was a big dream of mine when I was young. Like even in my visualizations, I had like I would tell myself that I would buy a mansion in Hollywood Hills. And so this, the reason why I say that is because I truly believe that you have to be agile with your visualizations, because something that you thought would be really cool can change in like a year or a matter of months, right? And so LA, I used to say like I was going to move to LA and buy a mansion in Hollywood Hills, and all this stuff. But, LA just doesn't really appeal to me anymore. And then Miami, I think it would be a lot of distraction, because again, there's a big party scene. So then I getting straight to the point, right? Why do I love Madrid? And this has been reinforced because I've been traveling as of late as well. I was in London for like a week. I was doing the event there. Just a lot of fun, went out with my friends and all this good stuff, right? And then I was in Paris, which, incredible city. I think I may move there for a month or so. But why, and then I came back to Madrid and I was like, this, I mean, it doesn't compare to like something like Paris, right? I love Madrid. I think it's a beautiful city, but it doesn't really compare to something like Paris. But I just felt great here. And the reason why that is, I think for me, is I do have a social circle in Madrid, and I do have a really cool network, but it's the type of network that I don't like. I don't have fear. I don't have as much fear of missing out. And there's not as many things to do as in a city like London and Paris, right? And so what I love to do is I love to insert myself in the noise, in the distraction, in the party scene, in like the like in the flashy stuff, right? For a bunch of days, maybe for a week max, and then detach from it, and then come back to my like Zen, just beautiful city. And that for me is what Madrid does for me. Like it just centers me. There's a great energy to Madrid. The people I just freaking love. I have family here. I've got friends here. It humbles me. It grounds me. And what else? And yeah, like the setup is just perfect for what I'm trying to do, which is build cool shit and build up my wealth and impact people and just be in an incredible routine. And then I can take I'm definitely going to go to Miami probably this year, right? I'm definitely going to go, Dubai probably. I'll go this year again. And I like inserting myself in the noise, but not living in the noise. I don't feel a need to live in there, because I think that would do more harm than good for me. And I think it does more harm than good for most people. I see a lot of my entrepreneur friends living in these cities, and I think they've also told me that they feel like sometimes they want to escape it, right? Because there's a lot of like this constant plans, like, hey, let's go out to this place and let's go out to this dinner and let's go out to this and this and that, right? And I think that can get a little bit exhausting. So that's my take. That's my hot take on places. And this is constantly changing, by the way. That's why I love, like, I love being in motion. And I talked about this in the event. Like, I love, trying new places. And that's why I'm probably going to go to, out to Paris and live there for maybe a few weeks, maybe a month or so, to just, really question and really question myself and being constant, like, and, in constant debate over like what's the best place for me, right? Because it is also very comfortable to, it is also very easy to get comfortable in one place and, make it out to seem like this insane place, but then you go out and you realize like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, right? And there's a lot of great places out there. So that's what I'm constantly trying to do. Like, and I'm constantly changing my thoughts. Like, for example, last year I had a big urge to just move out to Portugal, like by the beach, in this like insane, just beautiful house in nature, right? And it would have been my first like ever real estate purchase. I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger there. But and then now I look back over it and I'm like, wow, I would not have liked to live like that. And so it's this thing's constantly evolving. I think the key is once you start making money with your business, try a bunch of different places. Don't tie yourself down to one thing, and just like, and don't overcommit as well, right? Like, go out to a city that you think you may resonate with. Do that for like a bunch of days, like maybe take a week-long trip, right? And then see how you feel there. Like, see what the energy is like, see what the vibe is like, see if you can concentrate. Like, there's a bunch of places that I absolutely love, but I just cannot concentrate for this. If my life depended on it, I just cannot concentrate, right? And so I absolutely love being there to rest, right? But I when I go there, I already know I'm gonna rest. And so stuff like that is important. I think the key is just to be in constant motion and constantly be trying new things. Anyways, I love this conversation regarding places, but I'll move on to the next one. Outreach. I recently just found. I've been sending out outreach, and I recently just found I've been blacklisted. How would you go about fixing and warming up new accounts? There's softwares like Lemworm that you can definitely use. But really the key is, obviously you need to warm it up, but really the key is, and you also need to understand email health. And I go into this a lot in my mentorship. You need to understand email health. You need to understand, what the email algorithms like, so you can apply to them, right? So for example, what sort of subject lines do they like, right? What you want to do when it comes to email, and most agency owners just completely mess it up, right? But you want to look like an email that a colleague, a friend would send, right? So what are the subject lines that they would use? Probably shorter than what you're using, right? They probably wouldn't put like any caps, or they probably wouldn't capitalize like every single word in the subject line. When it comes to the content of that email, right? How long is it, right? Do you have a bunch of links in there? Like, all this stuff is important. And then also, if you have a really shitty offer and people don't respond, and you're not triggering or inviting them to respond, then that's going to affect your email health as well, right? So it's being smart about the strategy that you're using, so that it also, keeping in mind the email algorithms. It's kind of like Facebook ads, right? Like, you cannot run ads without keeping in mind the Facebook algorithm, right? Because this is constant balance between, for an algorithm, this constant balance between making the advertisers happy by making them money, but also making the users happy, and the users they value most, right? And so like, you want to keep in mind like what would make the users happy and what can also make me money, right? And so it's this constant balance when it comes to marketing online. Okay, there's a bunch of great questions. I just want to be mindful of time, so I'm gonna try to pick the best ones. That's why I'm kind of like reading them before I put them on screen. How do you go about hiring and training a performance marketer? In this case, your brother's the CMO, I believe. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. How do you go about hiring and training a performance marketer? In this case, your brother is the CMO, I believe. My brother is not the CMO. My brother is the CTO. For all my companies, right? So he does all the tech. If I envision a system and I tell him, like, boom, he'll get it done, right? He's that good. He knows how to code. He is a math number wizard, and so he does anything related to tech, landing pages, and building out software, building out dashboards, like all that stuff. He does, and he executes on kind of like the vision that I have. So the performance marketer, right? When you're starting out, which I'm guessing like is your case, Aymen, when you're starting out, you actually don't want to train a performance marketer. They should already be pretty damn good, right? And so when it comes to hiring, well, I have a whole hiring process for that. But really, the best places to tap into is Facebook DMs, LinkedIn DMs right now. And then having an actual hiring process that is more than just like one call. It should be, what I typically do is a 3-round interview process. And there's a bunch of hands-on questions and what I call input questions. So a lot of people focus on output questions, which are things like, have you done this? What is your average ROAS and all this stuff, right? Which everyone can lie about. But input questions are things like, what books have you read? What courses, what mentors have you had that have influenced the way you think, right? And so if their outputs don't match their inputs, right? Meaning they're talking big game, but they don't have any inputs in their brain, right? They haven't taken any courses, they haven't done anything. You want to weigh those out, right? And then when it comes to the interviews, hands-on questions are amazing. Hands-on questions is basically having them show their expertise on a call, right? Obviously under a little bit of pressure, but the great, A players perform well under pressure. So for your first hire as a performance marketer, it should be someone that already has a bunch of experience. It should be someone that is proven, right? At this point in my journey, I know a lot about performance marketing and I know a lot about media buying, right? In fact, I'm the one that talks to the Facebook reps on a weekly basis, right? I know a lot about media buying, and I can share my insights with my media buyers as well, and they can teach me a bunch of stuff as well, right? But you want to make sure that they're already proven because that first hire is absolutely vital. So yeah. How to find a media buyer? Can I get to 10K per month within 90 days? Is that possible? Yes, that is absolutely possible. And that is, actually my mentorship, that is the exact outcome that we have literally devoted our thinking time and our energy into engineering process that can do that, right? And if we don't do that, we work with mentees for free until they do hit that, which happens, if it doesn't happen within 90 days, it happens very shortly after, right? So it is definitely possible. However, if you don't have the right systems, if you don't brand yourself, if you don't build a monopoly agency, it is quite tough simply because you're competing in a red ocean, right? It is not a sea of opportunity, right? That you're operating in. And so it's kind of like this dichotomy, right? Because like if you go about it the wrong way, things are hard, right? But if you do the right things, like things are easy. And I truly believe this, right? And it might sound a little bit preposterous, but I truly believe 10K per month, you just have to want it bad enough. Like 10K per month is not this insanely difficult thing. If you generally just actually commit to making this sort of money, it is, I believe pretty much everyone on this life, well, actually everyone on this life can get to that amount. Like it really isn't rocket science. And I truly believe that if you have obviously the right guidance and the right focus and drive to get it done. I truly believe that the one thing that prevents most people from 10K per month is the fact that they don't believe it's like a possible thing, or they think it's this very hard thing. And so they don't even try. They don't even resonate at the frequency where opportunities can come to them, where they can see opportunity to get to that point. But really, when you get to that 10K per month mark, you realize like it really wasn't that hard. I don't know what the whole fuss about 10K per month is. And I'm destined for much more than that. All right, guys, if you're enjoying this and you haven't already, I'm gonna be a good YouTuber. I'm gonna tell you guys to smash the like button. I help a lot with the algorithm and the whole channel. I really appreciate it. Ecom niche is getting saturated. We're getting zero reply. Okay, so this is a good question, because I see this all the time, right? Like ecom niche is getting saturated. We're getting zero reply. Okay, ecom is not a niche. That's probably the first thing that you're doing wrong. So ecom is not a niche. It is an industry. It is a monster. It is a way of doing business, right? And so your first problem is probably the fact that your niche is ecom, right? So that's probably your first problem. The second problem is you probably don't have a profile funnel. And if you do, I mean, emails can still work, right? If you go about it the right way, but you probably don't have a great offer. Like if you want, put in the chats what your offer is, right? And I'll critique it, but it probably is something like, hey, here's what I do, and here are my results, and let's hop on a call. Are you free for, let's hop on a call and see if we can help you, right? And that's most people's sales funnels. Like it really sucks. And so, whether you pick ecom, real estate, all this stuff, like it won't work. And so ecom, there's a ton of opportunity, and saying that it's saturated, it is laughable, right? Because like, if you give me, I'll give you, like, for example, 4 niches, right? Fitness, sustainability, right? Cosmetics and apparel and fashion. Those are $4 billion industries, $4 billion industries with hundreds, right? If not hundreds of thousands of brands that you can work with, right? With very few agencies that only do those specific sub niches, right? And you're telling me you cannot sign 3 to 5 clients to get to 10K per month within those specific sub niches if you brand yourself the right way, if you have a really good solid offer. Like, you probably can't tell me you can't do that with a straight face, because I would probably laugh. So yeah, the ecom niche is saturated if you just go for the broad ecom market, because you're competing with agencies that are way more established, that have way better results, and you just don't have any differentiation, right? So you're competing in a red ocean, right? And competition is for losers, and you don't want to do that. So if you go about it the right way, there's just no arguing. Like ecom is not saturated at all. Steve is underrated. I also love on early morning, afternoon for calls. I love it, bro. Thank you. I implement a midday solid break from work. Good idea. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, man. Because if I don't hit the gym, if I don't go for a walk before lunch, and I've had an early start to my day, I will feel an energy crash. And for me, naps and all that shit doesn't work. It makes me more tired. And I also love getting a good night's sleep. And so if I take a nap, then that, it kind of fucks it up. And so 100%, dude, just go for, even if it's a walk, a run, like a quick hit workout at home, like just get moving before lunch, and you'll see a massive difference. Marcos, Hi Jaime, I'm struggling to send out a day to tech business owners. I'm aware of the platforms to get consistent flow of leads, but cannot afford them at the moment. What would you recommend? Dude, just focus on the organic profile funnels. That's where you're gonna find a lot of tech business owners, whether you search on LinkedIn, on IG, and you can start the process of interacting with them through DMs, find out where they're currently at, where they're trying to go, proposing a demo or a video audit. All right. Some tips on creators economy. I'd love to talk more about creators economy, but just be more specific with your question. How to get a first client? Tell me, just be more specific, dude. Hey man, is this live? Yes, it is. Okay, so great question here. So do you think you could get your agency to 500K a month? I'm guessing that's 500K a month, right? And do you think you would lose a lot of profit scaling that high? So great question. And I talked about this at the London event. I talked about this in my mentorship extensively. But when I say I've scaled to past 200K per month with my agency, by the way, there's few people in the space that have done it with their agency. I'm not considering any other business of mine, right? Just purely with the agency. How do we do that? Well, it just so happens that the way I've structured the ecom marketing agency business model, the EMA model that I've talked about for a number of years now at this point, and that I first introduced to the market, right? The way I've structured it is we have the fix. Okay, cool. That gives us predictability, gives us cash flow. It's great, right? But then most of the money is made on the ad profit, right? So the percentage that we take from the profit that we make these clients minus the ad spend, minus their cost of goods sold, minus our fixed fee, right? And so the reason why I say that is because for most of my clients at this point have 10K plus per month, well, not retainers because that would be fixed, payments from them, right? And most of that comes from the ad profit deals because we're spending a pretty good amount, a pretty good chunk of cash on their ad spend, right? And so I don't really need a lot of clients to scale to 200K per month, right? In fact, I actually did a breakdown at the London event of like my exact income sources, right? So really that's the first thing, like to get to 100K per month with your agency, with your ecom agency, you only need a handful of clients paying you 10K per month. And with the ad profit deals, that's not that hard. Like, we charge 3-4K a month retainers for brands that are making 100, 200, 500K per month. E-commerce, not a huge, it's not a huge deal for them. And then we take 10, 15, 20% of the ad profit. Like very quickly, you have those 10K per month retainers. And I see people in the community getting to that level, like charging equity, which I'll talk about in just a bit, right? So that's really the first part, which is like the ad profit deal, right? So having those 10K per month payments from clients every single day, every single month, right? Then we take equity in a lot of these brands, right? And so equity typically is going to be cash, like it's going to be vetted later down the journey. So technically, like we're not making that money now. But for example, Patrick, one of my students, right? He took a 6% equity in a currently 2.5 million valued brand, right? And so when that vets and when he can cash that out, if the brand sells, right, or if he liquidates his equity, right, that's going to be a good chunk of money as well for him, right? And so that's also how we're gonna that's also how we can scale. And then the other component of the ecom agency model is the fact that you can start building your own ecom brands. And those I still consider part of the ecom agency, because I'm using my team, I'm using the resources from the agency, I'm using my connections that I built for, using the agency. And so that is literally a byproduct of the agency. So that's still part of like the money that I make with the agency, right? And so I've got 2 ecom brands right now, one in the cosmetic space, another in the nutrition space. But my point, right, and to your question, so that's how I plan to get to 500K per month. And do you think I would lose a lot of profit? No, because actually you start making more profit, because the variable of scale with the business model that I propose within ecom agency is not signing more clients. It's not volume of clients. It is the money that you make with the ad profit. And that is pure profit. Make sense? Like that is pure profit to the agency, because it doesn't increase. Like the more we make, let's just say we're charging 20% of ad profit for one client, right? And the next month, this month that means like 5K per month for us. The next month it means 10K. That extra 5K is not like I don't need an extra person. I don't need to pay my media buyer more because of that, right? Like it's the exact same work. We've just increased the ad spend. And so, I do give out obviously incentives and bonuses according to the ad profit that we take, but the expenses wouldn't increase as I make more money because of the way I've structured it, because mainly due to the fact that the main variable for expenses is not volume of clients. Hopefully that makes sense. I think it does, but yeah, so it wouldn't cut into my profits, essentially. All right. Okay. Not a live session, guys. Just because I'm not answering like the latest, lowest recorded session. These guys did. There's like a healthy level of skepticism, and then there is like the people that say this is not a live session. Yet it literally says live on YouTube, and I can literally pull out the last question. But anyways, we'll keep going. All right, so I'm just trying to catch up. How to get clients without case study. Okay, so I would answer this question, but I literally did a live training, which I posted on YouTube on my channel. So just scroll down and I show you how to get clients without any case study, without any experience. And I people found a lot of value in that. If you guys want a guide for that, I put together a guide for that specific thing. So how to get clients without case study, just go ahead. All you have to do, and I'll send over the guide. All you have to do is a little growth hack for you guys. But all you have to do is just take an IG story of this live, tag me on IG, and I'll send it over via DMs. I'll send you that guide over via DMs, and that's all you have to do. Just tag it, and I can see it on my IG, and then I'll send it over through DMs. Okay. Have you noticed any fear in the marketing industry because of everything that's currently happening? Good question. So have you noticed any fear in the marketing industry because obviously of the war and all that stuff? So I think, I spoke about this with some students in coaching calls a few days ago. And I think there's always going to be, like, we just don't know what's going to happen, right? And so that causes uncertainty. Obviously, the Eastern European countries are more affected for sure. Western European, it's more uncertainty. And I think there's a little bit of a shock factor. And we have seen a little bit of a decrease in I think mainly it's like a decrease in attention for things that are not related to what's happening right now in the past few days, thus leading to a little bit of a decrease in like maybe response with our content and response with our with our DMs, etc., etc. I do think that as it becomes less uncertain, and I do think as it loses a little bit of a novelty, right, that we'll see everything just kind of go back to normal. But again, we don't know what's going to happen, right? So I don't want to be desensitive to, I think that's the right word, right? Because I could literally, we could have a war like on our doorstep in the next few months. Like we just don't know, right? And so the key is to, think about the present and what's happening right now, and how can I best deal with the situations that I'm dealt with the cards that I'm dealt with, how can I best deal with the situation right now, and also having obviously hoping for the best, but putting yourself in the worst case scenario as well, right? So like how if these things were to happen, how could I position myself in a way that I'm setting myself up well for the future as well as my family, right? So that's kind of how I approach it. But yeah, have I seen a little impact? I do think there's a bit of an impact, but not really as huge as people would probably assume. All right. 16, I'm looking to start my own Facebook ads agency. I've watched a lot of videos about SMMA for the past year and a half. The problem is I don't know where to start. Dude, if you're feeling this problem, then you probably are in need of guidance. So, whether that's like more YouTube videos, which I doubt that's the case, or whether that's like some paid program. So yeah, that's what I would say. Hey, I told about SMA, but stuff what we can do with SMA your phone. I told him to sell his iPad, buy a new laptop. Not live, low. Branded sales funnel, landing page stuff, Fiverr profile. I don't know what you mean by that. William Wakeford, good to see you, my man. Good to see you in this live, dude. I hope everything's is going well. That you got you. Okay, so great question by André, another fellow mentee. Good to see you in here. What are the top 3 skills that got you here? So I think the first one is that, I mean, these are going to be a little bit cliche, so I'm going to try to make it a little bit idiosyncratic. But I think the first one is questioning things, right? So like, I'm given something, right, by society, and I'm given a path by society, and I go, maybe this is not the right thing. Like if most people are doing it and most people just lead average lives, I should probably think of a different way or a different approach, right? So I think the first thing is like question everything, unless it's like, by a trusted mentor, in which case you want to listen and pay attention. The second thing I would say is discipline, right? And doing hard things even when you don't really feel like it. So I think that's massive, right? Being able to put emotions aside and just focus on the work and focus on discipline and habits over motivation, right? So motivation definitely didn't get me here because motivation is short-lived, right? And the final thing is like a big enough why. Like what's your main driver? And it could be, it could be like shallow, it could be like a material thing. Like you'll definitely, once you get the material thing, like that will be part of your process, realizing that like the material things won't really give you that happiness. But again, it's part of your process, right? So like, what's the big why for you? And I believe that if there's a component of that why that is external, that is for someone else, whether that's like your family or whether that's like giving back to the world or something like that, I think that's going to drive you even harder. So I mean, there's a bunch of things, but I think those would be my 3 key things. Good question. Please critique my funnel. Jaime called emails with the goal of getting them interested in an audit proposal where I overwhelm them with value, and at the end of the day, they can book in a strategy session. Yeah, I mean, there's more nuance to it, but it doesn't sound bad. It's just another thing that you want to keep in mind is like the way I do, like the way email plays a role in my sales funnels is using what I call personalized automation, right? And that we without getting like too specific, right? But we personalize according to a category within a specific sub niche, right? And so then the email, we don't have like the bullshit personalized line, which I think is the biggest like waste of time, and it's just so inefficient because it screams like, "Hey, I'm automated." In fact, it's ironic, but it really does. So we personalize according to a category, right? And so that seems very, very personalized, and so that gets their attention. My performance marketer is actually in Madrid, looking to visit you one day. Dude, Madrid is a great city, so you should definitely go there. Okay, so good question. What are the skills you need to have when you have an SMMA? So when you start out, really, you just need like drive, like like, hey, I want to do this. I'm motivated. You need discipline. Like, hey, I'm actually willing to put in the work for this. Like, I'm not just looking to get rich. And you need to be able to just follow a proven path and be able to like put your ego aside and say like, hey, I'm going to better myself and follow a proven path. As long as you have that, like, guys, we're not building a rocket. We're not building a software business, really. Like, I'm sorry to break it up to you, but I mean, one of the great things about SMA and especially e-commerce marketing agency is that it is pretty simple. I mean, it's not easy, but it's simple, right? Like, it's one of those business models that it's pretty blissful. Like sometimes I'm like, how does this even exist, right? And so you don't, obviously once you start scaling, once you start becoming more knowledgeable, then you start developing skills like sales, skills, like marketing, funnel hacking skills, like team building skills, right? And one of the things that I love about this business model is that it gives you a lot of great skills, and it makes you an very well-rounded entrepreneur. It's not just looking at a bunch of like stocks on chart, right? Which is more like two-dimensional. So it makes you very well-rounded. But I don't want to like go into like the skills that you build up, because when you start, you don't need any of the skills, right? Like you develop them as you go. So yeah, talking about you. I was talking about you get a client, but now they want you to come other place and all some charging structure. Like there's no video about it. And yeah, thank you for your work, bro. You're changing lives. Appreciate it, man. I don't really understand what you're asking, but yeah. So good question here. Do you have a general plan for scaling ecom clients now Facebook has become unreliable, or TikTok as the new big thing? I think TikTok ads have a lot of potential, but to say that Facebook ads have become unreliable, yes, the tracking is not as good as it used to be, but with conversion APIs, we're having a lot of success. We're like we get we're very data driven, because we actually have our own ecom brands, and there's like few people in the space that have their that are putting their own money on the line to the extent that we are. And so we get very data driven, and we see that the conversion APIs that we've set up, conversion APIs, for those of you who don't know, is just like an alternative method of tracking that is not through the Facebook pixel. And that is where things are moving. We're moving away from Facebook pixel and cookies, and we're moving into a world of conversion APIs, where we, as the website hoster, right? A website host, we own the data ourselves, not the engine, not the search engine. Okay, without getting like too technical, that's essentially what it is, right? And we're seeing a lot of success with conversion APIs. Like the tracking is pretty much spot on. And Facebook has rolled out a feature called event aggregated measurement. Again, very good feature. So like I'm not the biggest fanboy of Facebook, but like I don't think it's as bad as people think. And then when we add the 360 approach to the whole thing, right? So we don't just look at ecom growth from a Facebook ads lens or a TikTok ads lens or anything like that, right? Like that's what most media buyers do and performance marketers, and that's the wrong approach. We have a 360 approach, and what that means is that we take a look at the whole funnel, right? And so we don't just look at the Facebook ads. We look at, okay, are we driving this ads to a high converting landing page? Do we have a really solid back end of emails, right, to support us? Do we have a really good offer on the landing page, right? Do we have are we optimizing for lifetime value through repeat purchase and all that stuff, right? And so all this stuff plays a big role in scaling. It's not just like it's not enough to be blinded by your service. Okay, so I just want to be mindful of time because I do have another commitment. Okay, in 10 minutes I gotta go because I have a sales call. That's way to follow up after meetings. Got around 100K in our pipeline. Awesome, good to go, and they were excited to start. Ghost us. I think the best point right now is the best follow-up really is making sure that they are within your profile funnel so that they start seeing your content and you have that top of mind awareness. A newsletter is also a good idea if you've spoken to them through email. And then chasing the no. So if especially after meetings, like a lot of people think that a follow-up after a meeting is actually more valuable than a follow-up before a meeting. I disagree completely with that. And I know for a fact that's not the case, because if they haven't signed after a bunch of meetings with you guys, chances are they're not going to sign, right? Whereas if you're following up to get that meeting, they haven't seen you on the meeting and you're going to crush the meeting, right? And so those follow-ups are much more effective. So after the meeting, really it's just like chasing the no, showing that abundance and seeking that answer straight out bat, right? And telling them like, hey, look, like no hard feelings, just, if this is not going to fit, let us know. And no hard feelings about that, right? And then having the profile and the authority, do some value follow-ups, right? That, and you're not really investing much energy into that because that content you're posting or those newsletters you're sending out, that has a broad audience. It has a broad impact. Makes sense? So that's really the best way to go about it. Especially after a meeting. Give me one sec, guys. So, what is an offer in emails? We can run ads for you. Yeah. So run ads for you. Bad offer. Book a demo strategy. Whatever. Call with me. I mean, that's better, but like you want to explain what they're getting out of it, right? So like a call with me, again, bad offer. essentially is what you're pitching right now. Like, what is the value that they're going to get out of that email? Great question, Andre, with the great questions. What is your primary function as the owner of a marketing agency when you have a media buyer? What do you do when you have an automated business? So great question. Because a lot of people think that, we don't do anything. And, I mean, to an extent, like that's cool. And it is a pretty hands-off business once you actually have the right systems in place. But if you think about it, right, first of all, you've built up the ecosystem, right, for this media buyer to thrive in. So that's really the first thing. Secondly, right, you've built up the reporting ecosystem. You built up the communication protocols, right, for the client to be comfortable, right? We come also when it comes to the service delivery, we come in as the strategist, as the consultant, right? So we actually, with our 360 approach, as the agency owner, as the e-commerce marketing agency owner, one of the things that I preach in the mentorship is like we actually build out the funnel ourselves, right, for clients, and then we have the media buyer execute on that, right? Because we have the 360 approach, and typically media buyers are blinded by their service and what they know how to do, right? Then when it comes to sales is a big component of it, right? So you are in charge of one of the highest revenue generating activities, which is getting leads, a lead flow, and converting these leads into clients. So pretty much like most of it, when you have the right systems in place that are automated, as you know, Andre, then it becomes much easier. But there's quite a few parts to it. How to get leads? Okay. How to get leads come to you without you spending time? Can you give outlines how to leverage contractor case studies to use? Dude, what I would recommend is, so leverage contractor case studies to use this experience. Go on my YouTube channel. There's going to be a training that I did live recently where I talk about that exactly. And a lot of people found value in that. And then how to get leads come to you without spending a lot of time. I did a live training on this on my free Facebook community. There's a link in the description. Just go ahead and apply it, and you can access to, hopefully you get access to the community and you get access to the training, right? It's just, I could speak about it for hours on end, but we are tight on time. We are down to the few, final 5 minutes. EMA is definitely a unicorn business model. I completely agree with that. It is absolutely, key. And look, to me, it's still kind of crazy, the fact that, like, you guys call it EMA, and I don't know, like like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I introduced that word. It's kind of crazy, like what we built here. And so, it's the fact that like so many people are benefiting from this business model. I'm not by any, by any means saying that I invented e-commerce or, e-commerce agency, but I did, but I did. I'm joking. No, but it's so, it's very fulfilling for me to talk about EMA, and that's one of the reasons why I started creating content, to kind of like share the passion that I had for this specific business model. Is it possible to get ecom clients? Yes. I did a free training on this. Just go back to my either, if you're on Facebook, obviously you're on the community, and on my YouTube, I posted the live training. So check it out. Facebook ads versus TikTok ads as starting out EMA. I think it really depends on your sub niche. If you go for a broader sub niche, then TikTok ads may make a little bit more sense, although Facebook ads would still work. What you need to realize is that at the end of the day, what we sell them is not so much Facebook ads or TikTok ads, is growth for this specific sub niche, right? So for example, I'm helping tech brands grow to 7-8 figures using our proven tech hyper growth ads formula, right? They don't care about whether you do it with Facebook ads, TikTok ads. The same with that, like, for example, if I'm looking to lose weight, right? The keto guy will tell me, oh yeah, you should do keto diet, right? The paleo guy would tell me, oh, you should get on paleo diet. And then the intermittent fasting guy will tell me like, oh, you should do intermittent fasting. They all work, I'm sure, right? But we're reducing complexity to like one thing. And so that's what I would say. Like, having said that, right, I think, what I said, like if you go into a little bit of a broader space, like maybe cosmetics, it does make more sense, TikTok ads, but you could still crush it with Facebook ads, because there's very few people that are even narrowing down into a specific sub niche. Like I will say this time and time again on lives, and people won't still implement it. Okay. One live advice before leaving. Dude, that's a good question, but I'm trying to, like, that would be a great answer. I'm trying to come up with a great answer for you. And there's a lot of things, but I should think about, like, what's the one thing that I would like leave on a billboard, if I were to die or something like that. It's pretty dramatic, but I think that could be something that I could think about. I mean, one of the things that I would probably say is, like, commit to mastery, right? And yeah, I would say commit to mastery. And then another thing I would say is, like, one of the things that I've found as of recently, as I've gone through a bunch of paradigms, I've gone through the success paradigm and chasing money and chasing, chasing like validation and chasing fame and chasing and all this stuff, right? Which it got to a point where I felt like I got at least a glimpse of it, but like a pretty substantial amount to a point where I could say, like, oh, that's cool. Like, I've seen what this could be like. And I realized that, if they were to take everything away from me, how would I feel, right? What is my default state? And when I asked myself that question, like a year and a half at this point, before I really started like my internal process, I really couldn't come up with a great answer, to be honest with you. And I think, a lot of the content you guys see online, I think, unfortunately, is very, and I can blame myself for this probably 2 years ago, because I was on that mindset as well, right? So you can only really share what your beliefs are at that time, but a lot of it is very external driven, right? Like, there's a lot of content like getting girls and like red pill and all this like getting money and all this stuff. And I think it is important to make the money, right? It is important to like build a really cool social circle, but it should come from a place where you're focused on filling your cup internally, right? Like, the internal work is the most important work that you're ever gonna do. And I can assure you that when you focus on your internal work, right, whether that's meditation and getting better every single day and doing the hard stuff, and instead of like so much chasing things, right, which is the money and chasing the girls and chasing all this stuff, right, chasing the luxury and like chasing the nice watch and the nice car and all that stuff, right? When you focus on the internal process, when all this other stuff comes, which it does come as you become more high value and as you raise your vibrational frequency, when all that stuff comes, it just feels that much better. Like, it actually feels good. And it is not normal. It is not normal to hit a goal and not feel anything. And I felt like that for so long in my life, right? Where it would just be like, oh, next goal, next achievement, right? It's not about feeling stuff when you reach a goal. It's about feeling good while you're in the process of achieving that goal, right? And just feeling content and not, I wouldn't use the word happy, but my point is, don't focus so much on the external, because I think when you focus internally and when you focus on yourself, instead of like chasing all this stuff that you think is going to make you happy, I think all that stuff comes and then you're actually happy. And I think, that's probably what I would say, and what I've been learning over the past few months, which is like, nothing can make you happy except for the internal journey and the internal process that you need to go through. And I think a lot of the stuff that you go through as you get into entrepreneurship, because it's really the best personal development thing you'll do, it will show you and it will teach you a lot of the stuff, right? And a lot of times you'll have to bang your head against the wall, make all the money in the world that make all the money that you wanted, to realize like, oh shit, there's more to life. Having said that, go out, make the money, build the dream business, like build out your social circle. Just do it from a place that is aligned with you, and do it from a place not where you're trying to have all this stuff fill your cup, but where your cup is already full. You're already filled with great emotions. You're already content because you're alive, right? And then when you get all that stuff, which you will get because you become more magnetic when you're in that state, it just feels that much better. So yeah, I didn't think I would end the live with that, but I think that's a wrap. I am 2 minutes late to my call, so I gotta go. There are a bunch of great questions left, but I'm gonna be hosting these lives probably every single week. What day is it today? Wednesday. So Wednesday, same time, tune in for some of these lives, get your questions answered, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time and attention. And if you're watching on YouTube, and if you want to be part of the community where I'm going live even more, it's a free Facebook community. Just go ahead. There's a link in the description. You can go ahead and apply. And if you're a good fit, we'll let you in. And with that being said, I will see you on the next one. And for those who have been asking about the mentorship, there's going to be a link in the description as well. Probably not for you, but for those of you who are genuinely interested, there's probably going to be a link in the description as well. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.